we are gathered here on trial for case number 23 CM0102, State of San Andreas versus Melody Frey, 3 and 2 more. A very brief recount of the facts around this case, since it's an indictment. The narrative presented by the prosecution at first was that on the 16th of June, allegedly multiple gang members known as the Underground conducted a chain robbery on multiple stores. The state, through the police department, gathered CCTV from 3 of the alleged authors of these robberies. The police department presumably reached the final location and a shootout ensued, which led to the decease of an officer of the law and the injury of another. Particularly, the authors of said crimes, according to the prosecution, are Melody Frey, who is on trial for the following charges: WM02, possession of Class 1 firearm; GF03, armed robbery; SF02, attempted murder of a government employee; BF04, felony public endangerment; GM19, face concealment; and M03, unlawful assembly. All of which Melody Frey has pled not guilty to. On the other hand, we have the second defendant, Chad Rapkop, who is being put on trial for GF03, armed robbery; BF01, evading an officer; GM19, face concealment; and NM03, unlawful assembly. All of which he has pled not guilty to. And finally, we have Claire Allen, the second defendant, who has or is put on trial for GF03, armed robbery; NM03, unlawful assembly; and GM19, face concealment, all of which they have pled not guilty to. With that in mind, we're going to give commencement to the opening statement. We will begin by allowing the prosecution to present their statements.
Thank you, Your Honor, for your impartial and unbiased opinion while the prosecution presents their case. The prosecution is pursuing conviction and seeking placement of these charges: GF03, armed robbery; BF01, evading an officer; GM19, face concealment; NM03, unlawful assembly; BF04, felony public endangerment; SF02, attempted murder of a government employee; WM02, possession of a Class 1 firearm. The prosecution wishes to recount the events that occurred on the 16th of June, 2023. Please be advised that some of these crimes may be disturbing to some, and though we implore you to listen to the important details. On the 16th of June, a report of chain robberies was placed. Officers recovered CCTV footage that showed a gang, known as the Underground, robbing multiple stores. When officers were able to eventually catch up with the defendant, it was called. While officers attempted to subdue the defendants, the gang opened fire upon the officers, which resulted in one officer being hospitalized while the other was killed. As we present the case, we will provide evidence that clearly shows the defendants committed the above-mentioned crimes.
Thank you. The defense may go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. On the 29th of October 2023, an indictment was placed on the defendants in this case. The indictment states that on or around the 16th of June 2023, a group of individuals were involved in a chain of store robberies. The prosecution will present their evidence and try to convince the court that those individuals were the defendants. The defense will show that there is not enough evidence to prove who these individuals are. In fact, it will show that there is not enough concrete evidence to place the defendants anywhere near those scenes. And this will show that the prosecution has not proven beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendants are guilty of any of the alleged charges.
No, Mr. Sanchez.
Your Honor, the prosecution would now like to direct your attention to the first exhibit, CCTV footage from the Prosperity Street General Store robbery, taken on the 16th of June at 4:20 p.m. In this footage, you will see multiple gang members robbing a general store. Please take note of their clothing, hairstyle, hair colors of the criminals. These criminals are dressed in the apparel worn by the Underground gang. Gang members are known to wear clothes that are pink. They are known to commit these sorts of crimes.
Does the defense have anything to say in relation to this exhibit?
Yes, Your Honor. The CCTV provided only contains a screenshot of what took place there. It's quite difficult to see anything clearly. All you can see is clothing the individuals are wearing. You cannot see any facial features or any tattoos. Additionally, the prosecution states that these are gang members known as the Underground. However, they have no other corresponding evidence to support this claim.
Is there anything else the prosecution would like to add?
Yes, Your Honor. In the statements I previously made for the for Exhibit 1, we have not claimed that these are ground members. We have only claimed currently that their hairstyle or their clothing matches underground colors. As we continue through the exhibits, we will see these clothing and apparel referenced multiple times.
Defense?
Your Honor, he said underground, but again, there is nothing to support what underground colors are or what underground hairstyles are.
Like the prosecution can move on to exhibit number 2.
Cough drop.
The prosecution may direct your attention to Exhibit 2, the Grove Street CCTV footage taken on 16th of June at 3:50. Once again, please take note of the clothing, hairstyle, hair colors of individuals in this picture. The clothes seen in this photograph are identical to the ones worn by the individuals in Exhibit 1. The prosecution would also like to advise that special notice be taken to the organization of these criminals as they rob the store. In the CCTV footage, the individual in the back, the pink sweatshirt, is carrying out the same task they were in Exhibit 1. It is also worthy of noting that the gang members are all positioned the same way that we saw in Exhibit 1. That's all.
Defense?
And they're basically the same statements from Exhibit 1. CCTV footage, the screenshot is, where angle, you can only see the behind of the individuals, the clothing they're wearing, you can't see any facial features. And again, the prosecution is referring to these individuals as gang members. There is nothing to support this statement, this claim.
Prosecution?
Once again, as we continue, I will present more evidence as we get through the case in chief that will prove that these are gang members and these are organized criminals.
Thank you. You can move on with exhibit number 3.
Prosecution may continue into Exhibit number 3, the Vespucci Canal CCTV footage taken on the 16th of June at 4:10. In this photograph, you can see the same underground gang members we saw in Exhibit 1 and Exhibit 2. Please make note of the clothing, hairstyle, hair color, organization of these members. In the footage, you can see the same individual in the black sweatshirt at the end of the counter. We've now seen them in Exhibit 1, 2, and 3. Additionally, the other gang members are positioned at the front counter, same manner we've seen in Exhibit 1 and 2. That's all.
Defense, you may go ahead.
Your Honor, same for the previous 2 exhibits. You can't see any of their faces or facial features, and the way the camera is pointed, it's hard to fit any specific features for any of the individuals in the snippet.
Thank you. The prosecution may move on to the next exhibit.
If I may present Exhibit 4, it's a photograph of the damaged police cruiser. Please take notice of the nature of the spread of bullets. The pattern seems to be sprayed towards the officer's car and not organized.
Defense?
I have nothing to add to this exhibit, Your Honor.
The prosecution may move on to the next exhibit.
Alright. We'll now review Exhibit 5, Detective Yukimura's body camera. The footage was taken on the 16th of June, and it shows a record of the 4th robbery. The footage shows the culmination of events that led up to an officer being murdered and another critically wounded. As we review the footage, you will see officers arrive on scene. The officers immediately notice the store being robbed. 6 seconds into the footage, the criminal began to firing upon the 2 officers. Please take note that the individual who the detective initially engages with is the individual wearing the sweatshirt and standing at the end of the counter at the Exhibit 1, 2, and 3. As the footage continues and reaches the 35-second mark, we can see Detective Yukimura get shot and fall to the ground. In the audio of the film, the criminals can be heard talking over the radio to each other. The individual who shot Detective Yukimura can be heard saying, "This officer is down." All the individuals seen are committing crimes and the exhibit are also wearing underground colors. These individuals are clearly organized. That is all.
Defense?
The body cam footage shows the events happen after the store. They exited the store. All individuals in the footage have masks on. You cannot see any of their faces. And again, the prosecution is referring to this underground, but there's no evidence to support what underground is or what colors they wear.
The prosecution have anything to add?
No, Your Honor.
Sergeant.
Prosecution, can you repeat that?
Oh, no, Your Honor.
Perfect.
We-
You can move on to the next exhibit then.
Joe, code 1, TAC 4.
Yeah. My apologies. As we proceed to Exhibit 6, please remember the apparel and the appearance of the individuals from Exhibit 1, 2, Exhibit 3, and Exhibit 5. This individual is wearing apparel consistent with the clothes worn by the underground gang members. Please note the individual is attempting to get in the vehicle in order to flee the scene.
Sorry, Your
Just the
Honor.
defense.
I'm kind of confused. In Exhibit 9, sorry, disregard. My apologies. Nothing to add to this.
Alright, the prosecution can move on to exhibit number 7 then.
As we move on to Exhibit 7, Detective Yokomura's body camera still photograph. In this exhibit, there is a picture of the individual who is dressed in underground colors. The individual is wearing the same underground gang colors as the individuals in Exhibit 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. Please note that the assailant is also pointing her weapon at the officer. Yes, Your Honor. In Exhibit 7, there's a picture of an individual who is dressed in underground colors. This individual is wearing the same underground gang color that the individuals in Exhibit 1, Exhibit 2, Exhibit 3, 5, and 6. Please note the assailant is also pointing her weapon at the officer.
Right,
Oh.
defense?
Your Honor, we just like to quick to note this individual is clearly masked up. We cannot see their face. We cannot positively identify anyone from still graph.
Perfect. The prosecution can move on with the next exhibit.
Thank you, Your Honor. As we move on to Exhibit 8, the deceased officer's body camera footage. In this body camera footage, we are presented with the same chain of events shown in the first officer's footage. Two officers are seen arriving at a store while multiple individuals are attempting to rob it. As the officers pull up the MDC in the police cruiser, it identifies multiple vehicles, one of which is a Shinobi with the license plate Melody. This happens to be the same first name as the defendant, Melody Frey. At this point, you see one of the officers leave the vehicle and attempt to subdue the gang. The first vehicle attempts to flee. As the footage continues, you can see multiple individuals masked and wearing underground colors. The prosecution may once again point out this is the 4th robbery tonight by the underground gang. The individuals in this photograph are all seen in Exhibit 1, Exhibit 2, Exhibit 3, Exhibit 5, and 7. Once again, please note the apparent apparel of these individuals. In the footage, we once again see the individual wearing the black and pink sweatshirt. We see the individual engage officers. In this recording, it is possible to hear the gang members talk on the radio and clearly attempt to organize their efforts. That is all.
Defense like the court to note that just because someone has a license plate with someone's name does not mean that vehicle is registered or is owned by that same individual. Someone could have a license plate as their name and put it on high end, and someone else could buy it. So this is not proof that the vehicle at the scene was owned or registered to the defendant Melody.
Does the prosecution have anything to say?
Prosecution wishes to point out that we agree. You cannot solely identify somebody via the license plate on their vehicle. As we continue, we will present more evidence that does link this person to these crimes.
Thank you. Does the defense have anything to add?
Nothing else, Your Honor.
Prosecution, go ahead with the next exhibit, please.
If we may now present Exhibit 9, the bullets removed from the detective's vest. In the vest, 4 bullets were found, 3.5 bullets, and 1 assault rifle bullet. Please note that these were the only bullets found in the vest and not the complete scene. That's all.
Defense?
Nothing to add, Your Honor.
Prosecution, you can move on.
The prosecution will now present Exhibit 10, the arrest report of Melody Frey. While we review this exhibit, please take note of the appearance of Miss Frey, her clothing, her hair. Please note the account of her actions and firing at the officers. In this mugshot, her appearance is very similar to the individual in a pink and black sweatshirt seen in Exhibit 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, and 8. Take note of her hair in this photograph. It is matching the same and it is matching that same individual. Please note that the crimes in this report are very similar to the crimes committed.
Objection, Your Honor. In the pretrial motions, we put a motion to suppress this exhibit. It was denied, and the prosecution argued that the contents of the arrest report would not be used in trial, only the mugshot.
If I may, Your Honor,
Go ahead.
I believe you're referencing the Claire Allen photograph from her mugshot.
Your Honor, I can quote from Hope Kant's response to the court. She said, when I posted the motion to suppress, I quote, "However, we urge the judge and defense to look deeper into the arrest report. The mugshots, clothing used, and affiliation shown between the accused parties. Similar stance taken and allowed in courts by the prosecution during," and she mentioned a trial, Hardy Pavlovich. And the Constitution says it's clear we are not intending to review previous crimes, but showing supporting evidence to our claims. So it's clear that they were only intending to use the mugshot to show similarities, not the actual content of the arrest report.
Thank you,
Your Honor, if I may, prosecution said if you look at the previous crime, it's very similar to what happened in the body cam. How is that not reviewing previous crime?
Thank you, Your Honor. That is all for Exhibit 10. Prosecution may now direct your attention to Exhibit 11. This exhibit recounts the arrest of Chad Rapkov. While examining this exhibit, pay attention to the appearance of the individual. Like the photographs, Ms. Frey, the likeness of this person can be seen in the previous police body camera footage, reviewed in Exhibit 5, Exhibit 6, and Exhibit 8. Take note of the hair color, style of this individual. These characteristics can also be seen in Exhibit 7. Please recognize the mention of the underground group of which Claire Allen, Melody Frey, and Trav Rapkov are members.
Your Honor, the defense would like the court to note that he's related to previous exhibit with similar features. The individuals in all previous exhibits were masked. You saw none of their faces. You saw no facial features. So it is not possible to say that this mugshot of the defendant is the same person that was in the previous exhibit.
Thank you, Your Honor. The prosecution would now like to present our final exhibit, Exhibit 12. In this exhibit, we see a picture of Miss Allen. Please take note of her clothing. Her clothing is consistent with gang members seen in Exhibit 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Much like Ms. Frey and Ms. Rapkov, she's a known member of the underground gang. The prosecution would like to ask that note be taken of her clothing and hairstyle. An individual seen in Exhibit 1, 2, 3, 5, and 8 can be seen with the same clothing and with the same hairstyle. Miss Allen, being a member of the underground gang, is known for these sorts of crimes and known associate of Trav Rapkov and Melody Frey.
Let's go ahead.
Honor, the defense is like court to note. Again, the individuals are all masked up. You see no facial features, so it's hard to identify anyone in those photographs. Again, the prosecution is referring to this gang called the Underground. I'm not sure who they are, but there's no supporting evidence to show what Underground are, what color they wear, or to say that the defendants are in any way, shape, or form associated with this group.
The prosecution can begin with their closing statements.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor and all other parties present, I once again would like to thank you for your time and service. The prosecution believes that there is sufficient evidence to prove the defendants were involved in the chain robbery that occurred on the 16th of June. The prosecution has presented evidence through CCTV footage that the robberies were carried out by the underground gang. In the footage reviewed from Exhibit 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, and 8, criminals were all seen wearing underground gang colors. These gang members are clearly practiced, organized. In Exhibit 1, 2, and 3, multiple gang members can be seen robbing convenience stores. These criminals are carrying out assigned duties, and those duties do not change across all the CCTV footage. Additionally, taking note of the timestamps on the CCTV footage, the Grove Street footage was taken at 3:50, the Vespucci Canal footage at 4:10, and the Prosperity Street footage at 4:20. On the 16th of June, the Underground engaged in an altercation with police officers, escaped, and then were able to rob 3 stores within half an hour, a feat that could only be accomplished by organized criminals who had experience working together. When reviewing the body camera footage, the criminals can be heard organizing over their personal radios. Additionally, the body camera footage captured a defendant wearing a pink sweatshirt that exactly matched the description of Melody Frey, as she can be seen in her arrest report. This individual can also be seen driving a Shinobi with the plate Melody. The likeness of Melody Frey, Chad Rapkov, and Claire Allen can be seen throughout Exhibits 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, and 8. When comparing the likeness of these individuals to their respective arrest reports, it is clear they were at the scene of these robberies. Taking note of the hair color, hairstyle, build, and apparel worn by these individuals, and most importantly, gang affiliation of the defendants, it is clear that they committed these crimes. These individuals are known members of the underground gang. This can be proved through the arrest reports. The respective arrest reports reference the crime scene they were arrested at as underground-related scenes. Your Honor, the prosecution once again like to thank you for your time and objectivity on this case. That is all.
Fence can go ahead.
Your Honor, going through these proceedings, it is clear that the prosecution has failed to prove beyond a reasonable doubt a number of things. First off, the prosecution has mentioned a number of times about a gang or organization called the Underground. However, no point in the exhibits have they proven what Underground is, what colors they wear, or who are a part of this cold call organization. The prosecution is saying that this gang called the Underground are the individuals who are going around robbing the stores, yet there's no proof, no evidence to say that those individuals in the CCTV are in any way related to this gang called the Underground. Furthermore, evidence provided are all still photos. You can hardly see anything detailed in them. You cannot see the individuals' faces. You cannot even depict what tattoos they have on their skins. And this was allegedly one of the deciding factors of the indictment, as stated in the narrative. As established in the case San Andreas versus Scooby Bathsheba, Judge Hu all good rightly pointed out that hearing someone's voice, seeing their clothing, and having a similar vehicle, while good factors towards reasonable suspicion, while good factors towards reasonable suspicion to detain someone for further investigation, these factors are not enough to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. This precedent highlights the inherent deficiency of the type of evidence presented by the prosecution in establishing guilt and reasonable doubt. The prosecution has provided the court with previous arrest reports that only shows the client's mugshot, trying to show that they have similar clothing and hairstyles. This does not mean that the individuals in the CCTV are definitely my client. Anyone can go to a clothing store and buy a jacket that is pink, black. Anyone can go to a store and buy a hoodie that's pink. That doesn't mean that they are the individuals seen in the CCTV. The barber asked him for a haircut. It can be similar to the one seen in the CCTV. That does not mean that you are the person in the CCTV just because you have a similar haircut. The prosecution has not provided any direct evidence, such as DNA samples, fingerprints, or any evidence to positively identify the individuals in the CCTV. Therefore, we cannot say who those individuals are. A shootout occurred at one of the stores, the strawberry store, yet there's no firearm in evidence to link back to any of the suspects, so we can positively ID who was the individuals at the scene. The doubt created by the circumstantial nature of the prosecution's evidence is significant and cannot be overlooked. The prosecution has simply not proven beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendants were in fact the people seen in the CCTV committing these crimes. Therefore, I urge the court to honor the principle of reasonable doubt and find the defendants not guilty of all charges. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Prosecution would like to note once again that each of the defendants match each of the individuals in the mugshots and the body camera footage. They match build, height, weight, clothes, look, hair, affiliation, even the car colors. As stated previously, the pink clothes, same frequencies, multiple store robberies, organized manner of the crime, and the license plate, Melody, all point to the same thing: the reasonable guilt of the defendants. The reasonable assessment of the facts that illustrates how clearly how the gang once known as the Underground committed a chain of store robberies and shot at responding law enforcement. Both actions they were well known for when they were prominent in the city. We thank the courts for hearing our side and the defense for their time and commitment. As you've heard both sides today, the prosecution stands firm in their assertion of the facts via arrest reports, mugshots, body cam, and CCTV footage. We believe we have proven beyond reasonable doubt that the defendants are in fact guilty of multiple felonies and misdemeanors for their actions, from shooting down and killing officers to armed robbery. We ask the court seeks justice by finding the defendants guilty on all counts.
Yes, Your Honor. The prosecution states that the defendants matched to a T the height and weight of the individual seen in CCTV. How is it possible for the prosecution to know how much those individuals weigh or how tall they are from a simple still image? Additionally, as mentioned when the prosecution presented that exhibit, Just because there is someone's name on the license plate does not mean it is owned by that individual. The prosecution has not provided any MDC information to show the registered owner of the vehicle, so anyone could have the license plate with Melody on it. That does not mean that the defendant owned that vehicle. The defendant or anyone can have a vehicle with their name on it and sell it on the high-end market. The person who buys it could keep the license plate the same. That doesn't mean that it isn't owned by the person with the name anymore. That's all you're on. Cough.
Excuse me. Prosecution would like to point out that the license plate alone is not being used to identify
Hey, how's it going?
the defendant, but the clothing also seen in her arrest report is the exact same seen on the vehicle with her name on it as in the arrest report.
I'm applying to Vixens. You think I can
That's
get a
all.
job there?
Perfect. So in this way we close the period for the closing statement. At this point in time, the judge will now take 15 minutes to carry out the appropriate deliberations, and then we will rejoin here at the courtroom to listen to the verdict.
A few minutes later.
We gathered here now to present the decision made by this court in regards to criminal case number 23-CM-0102. State of San Andreas versus Melody Frey et al. In this case, the prosecution, or rather, this case began because the prosecution initiated an indictment process against the defendants, Melody Frey, Chad Rakop, and Claire Allen, for allegedly taking part in a chain of store robberies. The state managed to allegedly identify the defendants of this case as the authors of these robberies through through footage of a specific event that took place later on. Specifically, a shootout outside of a store that led to the decease and the injury of a police officer. The prosecution argued, as they presented their discovery and their statements, that that the crimes were performed by a criminal group in an organized manner. The defense argued that there was nothing that indicated, other than clothing, of the defendants being actually part of an organization, or even then, the defendants being the ones who carried out said actions. The court, upon reviewing the evidence, could conclude that the prosecution managed to prove that there was in fact organization within the criminal acts that were committed by identifying a same group of members who were related with each other with a very clear and specific division of tasks. Later on, the photo evidence that was presented was used to try to determine the identity of the suspects or the defendants. In that regard, the court has some considerations to make. On the first hand, in relation to Mr. Chad Rakop, the court found that the alleged identification was insufficient. The prosecution argued in exhibit number 6 that the still photo provided was of the defendant Chad Rakop. However, upon reviewing all of the other exhibits, the court struggles to find the presence of anybody with identical or similar physical aspects or clothing. In fact, the evidence provided, the mugshot, if it was to be decided on the clothes, would indicate no relation at all, given that the still photo provided by the prosecution and on the footage is completely different from the mugshot provided. This does not mean that the court believes that a mugshot and a still photo are sufficient evidence. However, if it was considered as so, it would be insufficient just because of the fact that the clothing is not equal or even similar from the mugshot to the still provided. The prosecution argued that the accused made part of a group called the Underground and referred to the clothing, style, and more. The defense argued that there was no evidence that tied the defendants to a criminal group, and even then similar clothing does not indicate a direct relation with a criminal organization. The court has to side with the defense and adds that the prosecution did err in regards to not presenting discovery for that matter. Finally, in regards to the identification of Melody Frey, very similarly to the identification of Claire Allen, the prosecution presented an arrest report that showed a mugshot of a similar person. Again, it appears to be that the evidence presented to this court was insufficient in regards to providing enough evidence that could link the identities of both. However, the prosecution did insist on the identification of Melody Frey because of the presence of a motorbike with the license plate that read Melody. The defense argued that there was no motorbike identification and that anybody could use the license plate. The court believes that while this line of argument might have been weak or insufficient to prove that there was no ownership of said motorbike by Melody Frey, the defendant, it is the state and thus the prosecution who carry the burden of proof. The court believes that the prosecution had ample time and opportunity to gather enough evidence that could link this particular vehicle and license plate to Melody Frey. Had that been the case, the circumstances today could be different. With that in mind, the court believes the prosecution did not manage to establish a connection between the identity or the license plate with the suspect. Again, the efforts carried out by the prosecution could or were absent in regards to proving the identity of the suspects and linking them with the defendants. With that in mind, this court finds Melody Frey on the count of WM02, possession of a Class 1 firearm, GF03 armed robbery, SF02 attempted murder of a government employee, BF04 felony public endangerment, GM19 face concealment, and NM03 unlawful assembly, not guilty. Court also finds Chad Rapkov on the counts of GF03 armed robbery, BF01 evading an officer, GM19 face concealment, and NM03 unlawful assembly, not guilty. And finally, the court finds the defendant Claire Allen on the counts of GF03 armed robbery, NM03 unlawful assembly, and GM19 face concealment, not guilty.
Yo, let's go.
Chad, how do you feel about winning your court case?
I think justice was finally served here. Our names have been cleared. It's been hanging over our head for quite a while now, and I'm glad my name's finally been cleared from this.
Claire, how do you feel?
I'm with Chad on this. I think justice was served. It took a good while to gather their evidence, but so I feel like justice was served. It took them a good year to get all the evidence, get it all situated, but unfortunately it wasn't enough evidence to prove guilt because we were not doing those acts, so...
Chad, how scared were you that you were going to be found guilty today?
There's no doubt in my mind that I was going to get through this without any charges, because that wasn't me committing those,
How about you, Claire? Were you worried in any way?
I was a little worried that they'd find something out of their ass to throw on us, but...
And what are your guys' thoughts on your defense attorney?
He was a straight up G. He pulled up and just threw his cock on the table and proved us innocent.
Okay.
Yeah. Regular Saul is top tier.
Do you guys have any other comments for the viewers?
I don't have any now.
If you need any legal needs, hook up or hit up Jay Welberg. He hooked us up, and he'll hook you up as well. Get you out of the whatever they're claiming you committed.
Okay, well, once again, congratulations, guys.